And we're live. We have a very special guest today coming all the way from Austin, Texas, currently in upstate New York, though. Shout out. He's a business mentor and coach with a 17-year career in fitness. Teaches coaches how to serve their communities and build profitable coaching businesses. Sounds familiar, Mendez? Let's go.
That's right.
We'd like to welcome to the podcast today, James Quigley. Woo. How you doing, man?
Dude, thank you so much, man. I am honored and grateful to be here with both you lads. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you taking your time out to join us on here today. And
oh yeah, man.
Sounds like you and Mendez over here are gonna have a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, man.
Gonna get after
for sure.
Yeah. So before we get started, how have things been for you? We kind of like to, get a little feel for how everyone's situation's been, since COVID hit, and kind of some of the adjustments that they've been making so far throughout this pandemic. So I'll kind of let you take it from here.
Yeah, well, 2020 has been a crazy year for everybody. I think 2020 has definitely been a year where you can feel the entire world vibrating and just shaking. And luckily, I've been doing a lot of personal growth and development work for the last couple of years. So when everything hit, it kind of put me in a good position to just continue to go forward, leaning on my practices such as meditation, yoga, still continuing to train. And it actually put me in a very good position business-wise. Obviously, the entire fitness industry had to shift overnight, and I was well positioned to help as much as I could. So things are going really well. I'm able to actually come all the way to Rochester, New York, and still continue
Shout
to
out
work.
outside New York.
There you go. Still continue to work. And I'm very blessed to have awesome clients that are, in Kuwait, Germany, Dubai, New York, Texas. So I'm very blessed that I'm able to help people, not only just in my small little local town of Austin, Texas, but globally now because of how awesome technology is. So things are good.
Yeah, I don't know how small Austin's going to be anymore with all those those Californians moving over there.
That's right.
Damn Joe Rogan. Damn Joe Rogan. I was there first,
it.
man.
Yeah.
I was there first.
I thought about moving to Austin a while ago. I can't lie. It's a great city.
It's great, man. It's a great city. I think Matthew McConaughey, he's been like on a tour, pushing out his new book. And he said it best, right? It's cowboys and hippies.
Cowboys and hippies. That's
cowboys
funny.
and hippies. And although you have a bunch of people moving in California, you have a bunch of New Yorkers, I think the influx of people, you kind of get shaken up a little bit and you learn, I can be nice. Oh my God, I can slow down a little bit. I can say hi to my neighbor. Wow, okay, things are different. So I think that takes a little time for everybody to get adjusted to, but I love that. I love that part of it.
What would you say is the biggest attraction point that's drawing people into Austin specifically?
The taxes.
Well, Texas. I know that's right? Texas, yeah. Texas like Florida, sure. but what's drawing them into Austin specifically, into that city?
Man, the energy is phenomenal. It's a younger city, and so when you get a younger crowd per se, the energy, right? The energy is just amazing. It's outdoors, so you could paddleboard, you can go kayaking, you can hit the trails with your bike, you can go running. Freedom, right? Like we're pretty much open. You still have the safety measures in place, but we're pretty much open. So I think it really comes down
to the open.
Yeah, there you go. I really believe that it's the energy of the place. And of course, you have all of these major tech companies going there, which brings just an influx of people. And people want the latest and coolest thing. So if Austin's the latest and coolest thing, that's what everybody's coming to.
So would you say that the tech companies are moving for the same reasons?
Yeah, and cheaper space. Let's be honest, right? Like that's if you're gonna get a place to put people in, right? An office building, you're gonna get land, and there's so much opportunity for that in Austin. Much cheaper than California, much cheaper than any of these other places. So I believe that the companies are going there all the same reasons.
Gotcha. So what? And I don't mean to. I know Josh is going to say something, but what would be the things you don't want to see happening in Austin with all the beautiful growth that's going on? you always know that some stuff comes along with it, especially when it starts coming from other states, other places. People bring some of their stuff down there. Some things are starting to get applied. What don't you want to see happen to Austin?
That's a great question, man. You know, when I first got there, I'm from New York, right? And so I didn't grow up knowing a lot about politics. I did, you know. But when I came to New York, I met a bunch of great people, and they just kind of told me, they're like, look, you know, there's a reason why things are awesome here. There's a reason why you have the freedoms. There's a reason why we have, you know, very low taxes. There's a reason why, you know, we can go shoot guns and have great barbecue. So just kind of learn what those reasons are for yourself. And I did. What I don't want to see happen are, you know why you left California. You know why you left New York. You know why you're leaving these places. Leave that behind, right? Leave it behind. Open your mind up a little bit. Learn to talk to your neighbor. Learn to get a chance to know other people, and just open yourself up a bit, because you're going to learn some stuff. And that's what I've done over the last, 3.5 years, is I've tremendously learned a lot about what makes certain things so great and what makes certain things not so great.
Love that.
And what makes you think that people, because it doesn't just happen with people moving to a different state, right? It happens with their fitness journey. It happens with nutrition. You were a fitness coach for a long, long time, even with their business, right? Mendez and I have had a ton of different conversations about mindset and framing your mindset the right way. What do you think it is about people that make them want to leave lack of a better term, like a bad situation, right? And then move to a better situation, and then ultimately turn it back into that bad situation, right? Through mindset.
Yeah.
Why do you think that people go down that route, and how can people kind of avoid making those errors as they, continue to grow and move through life?
It all comes down to your patterns, right? And a lot of it's subconscious. I mean, 90% of our day is just operated off our subconscious brain. So when you grow up and you grow up in these certain places, it's just natural. You don't even know that you're doing it. You don't even know that you're operating this way. You don't even know why you're falling back into these patterns. So luckily for me, I went through a whole healing journey and kind of understood, why I had certain beliefs and why I was holding on to certain ways of life. And I think when people come into a place like this, they leave because it's so painful. It just gets to a point, you're like, I'm done, I gotta go. And so they come to a place like Austin, and it's just natural that you're going to try to pull back some things that were comfortable. Even though they were painful, they're still comfortable. And so it happens in your fitness journey, it happens in your business, where the things you're doing wrong. You know it. And you know the things you need to do right. But we fall back into these patterns because it's all we know. And sometimes we don't even know why we're doing it.
I love that you brought this up, because it's one of these things that I've, even I experienced when I was, in my younger stages of coaching. And I've seen many coaches and even beyond coaching, other industries and stuff like this, and even with people with their own, personal issues. But it's like that. You see a lot of people, they try leaving their situation and getting into something new because they want to escape what's going on, but yet they haven't solved the problem. So the problem continues to linger on even where they go. So a lot of people, it's like I tell people all the time, if you don't tackle the problem before you go to that new thing, that problem is going to carry on to your new thing. Now, you might have a nice 3 to 5 months in that new place because it's a new place, new people, new scenery, new this, and you're like, oh, you're on that high. And then guess what? You start coming back down to reality because that problem never got fixed, and now you have to face that problem again. So now 100%. what are you going to do? Oh, so now you're going to go move again to escape that problem, or now you're going to leave that other job because you had the same issues going on in the other job. Maybe it's not the fact about the job being the problem or the place you're in. Maybe it's people need to sit back and look at yourself and be like, what's my internal problem that I have to deal with, so I don't have to be doing all this jumping around, and I can settle in and settle down instead of having to, escape these issues all the time. And I think there's a huge thing going on like that, before COVID and after COVID. And you're just seeing a lot of people just like trying to do these little escapes all the time instead of just sitting back and creating that awareness.
100%. That was me. You know, I've done that. I did that for years, was bounce around from opportunity to opportunity, because it's actually, especially with the rise of Instagram, it's nice to be able to have a, you know, to announce something that's happening, right? Oh, I have a huge announcement, and you get all the likes and you get all the love. Congratulations. But then the work happens. And you're like, oh shit, the work's not as fun as the announcement. So
Yep.
it's the same, it's kind of the same concept. It's like that happened to me. You know, I just was bouncing around, running from opportunity to opportunity, came to Austin, trying to open up a gym, but I never stopped to take care of the man. I never stopped to take care of what I was running from. I was escaping, as you said. And so until you stop and to figure out what is that thing that keeps holding you back, you're just going to continue to just fall into that loop.
So what are some of the tools that you would recommend that you use on yourself? And I know everybody, not all tools work for everybody, but you know, maybe those who might use it, I might actually work for them. What are the tools that you use for yourself to be able to get yourself out of that hole and be able to start, you know, and I know we always say, you know, oh, fix problems, but at the end of the day, it's more about managing them, getting through them. Cause we talk about all the time, most of the stuff comes from past experiences, you know, your DNA, your childhood, and those things always linger in your life. So it's more about like, how can we manage those problems? So that way, when we do, when they do become present, we know how to approach it the right way. So it doesn't hurt the process or hurt our continuation of growth.
Yeah, for sure. You know, new levels, new devils, right? I think Chris Harder said that. So the more you rise, right, the bigger the problems get. So you need your practices. You need these tools to help you along the way. They've changed. You know, they've changed a lot. I fell on really hard times 3 years ago. Well, yeah, 3 years ago. Moved to Texas again. Brought all those problems with me. Never really dealt with them. Was failing. Was not paying attention to my health. Wasn't really. I was bulking. You know, that old bulking, right? I was bulking. So eating that cheeseburger, eating a cookie, but, you know, lifting a lot, trying to out train my demons, so to speak. And my body was just breaking down. Everything was hurting. The bank account wasn't looking the way it should have looked. And so I had no choice but to start to take a look in the mirror and tell myself the truth, that it was all my fault. So that's when I started going down the rabbit hole and learning how much your routines help you. And so I created what's called an unstoppable list. And it's very small little things that I just add on throughout my day. And it could be wake up, drink my water, make my bed, write 100 to 500 words in the morning, 5 minutes of breath work and meditation. And, you know, just throughout the day, I do these little things to make sure that I'm staying consistent. Meditation, you know, I think meditation goes a long way. Yoga, I had to adapt yoga. I'm 42. So if I don't do some sort of physical restoration of my body, I'm just going to feel it. And I started to see something that maybe people don't talk about, especially men, is I went to go see a therapist. You know, she's called a theta healer. So it wasn't like spiritual woo-woo, so to speak. It was working with science. And it was all about the brain. And you developed your subconscious thoughts for the first 7 years of your life. So a lot of trauma, a lot of things going on. I didn't have the normal upbringing. And so I had a lot of things that I had to deal with. So going through that and working with her for a little while made a big shift for me. So those are some of the things that I recommend. Those are things that I do.
Amazing.
How did you, like, what impact, like what were the immediate things that you saw really did change, you know, once you were able to kind of work through some of those issues that you were having inside your own head?
Ego, like right away, the ego, you know, and we've been in the industry a long time, all of us, we know, we felt it, right?
I got a huge ego.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. I will never say it's not there. It's just now being able to put it away, or being able to like understand why it's there. And so that ego was just ask me the question again, because I got off track.
What were like some of the immediate returns?
Oh yeah. Okay. So being able to see my own ego, being able to accept feedback, being able to ask questions
Huge.
from a humble place and just learn, even though it didn't matter how old I am, right? And it didn't matter. what mattered is I had to just completely switch off from this expert and just be a student again. And so that was probably the fastest thing that happened for me.
So when you made this change and you made this transformation, which you said, now for it was 2-3 years ago that you said,
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
So about 3 years ago, how has your life transitioned from then now? And what is the next approach that you're going to take to just continue that path of growth?
That's a great question. It was ownership. It was complete ownership over everything. That was probably the biggest shift for me, was taking complete ownership, knowing that my truth, it's not the story that I tell myself, but it's actually what's happening. This is what's going on in your life, James. You're responsible for this. Even though the relationships that I had, what was serving me, what was not. And I was able to understand why I kept putting myself in the same situations over and over again. So the benefits just came from a better mindset behind my business, being able to retire from the service side of the fitness industry and just go full time into serving coaches and gym owners. And what's coming next is, I truly believe that because this year is shaking us out of our comfort zones, being a better student, continuing just to be a better student. I love saying, my new mantra this year was, be curious, what are you learning here? Be curious, what are you learning here? Even like if it's fitness, even if I'm like under a squat and I'm struggling, it's like, dude, what are you learning here? Come on, like feel your hips. Like, so for me, that I hope that answered your question.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think that that's so important, right? It's like always, and it's something that I tell people, especially younger coaches in the industry, is like, you have to always be a student. You always have to be learning. Like when I worked at Equinox, and both Mendez and I got our start there, right? I was always like sitting down in the lobby when I wasn't training people or working out, like reading books, reading articles, going through, and people are like, man, like you're always doing, it's like, well, what else am I supposed to do? Like, I want to get better. I want to become a better coach. And I think like especially coaches in the fitness industry, like there's so much emphasis on like, I got to train people. I got to train people. I got to train people. It's also like, one, what you were saying is like, well, are you taking care of yourself? Are you learning more about yourself? Are you learning more about your craft? And are you taking risks to learn things outside of the craft, right? Things that may enhance you, whether it be social media, like, or business coaching, like what you two do, or even, how do I get better at like email marketing or, even something outside of it. Like I want to take up woodworking or archery or, whatever it may be. I think like you always kind of have to have that inquisitive mindset in order to be able to see the type of growth that we all like to enjoy seeing on social media.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, since I know we touched upon the topic of the whole business coaching, and I know you and Josh brought it up. What was it that created that eye-opening factor for you to want to even get into the business coaching realm? And what got you started, and how was that process?
So I think we all, at some point in the fitness industry, realize there's got to be more, right? There's got to be more. I just can't be training people all day, right? And I was running multiple gyms. I was running around, and I almost left the industry. I almost was like, I have all of these skills, and God, like I am not using them. And so I almost went into like medical device sales.
Wow.
Yeah, I was that close. Like I was really close. And I started to go down the path of personal development, and I hired different coaches, was working with different life coaches, was even in the Tony Robbins life coaching program. And
Which
so
one?
I knew I was working with one of his coaches, his life coaching program, Tony Robbins. And so I got the clarity that I wanted to stay coaching, and I just needed to evolve my coaching. So I started to work with I started to do sort of life coaching for people. And I worked with a couple of people outside of the industry, people in tech, people in finance. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Like, it was like the traumas
Like,
that
hold
people
up.
were going through. Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is way outside of my scope of practice here. You just want to do some push-ups and burpees. And so he challenged me, my coach challenged me, and he's like, look, man, he's like, you've got all of these skills. You know, what do you truly want to do? Who do you love working with? And I had a like this like major breakdown. Like I literally was like on the floor and I was like, what the fuck? And I was banging the floor and I couldn't figure it out. And I stopped for a second. I started breathing and it came to me. And I was like, I think I want to help coaches. And I started writing and I just started writing and I started writing. And sure enough, I called them up and I'm like, because I cursed them out actually, because he challenged me so much. And I called him up and I was like, dude, I want to apologize first. And shout out to Dan from Tony Robbins. He's a great guy. And I said, I truly think I want to help coaches. And he's like, what kind of coaches? And I was like, fitness coaches. He's like, dude, I'm so glad you finally figured it out. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, he's like, I can't give you that answer. But typically, when we're in the coaching space, you want to be able to maybe help people that were 3 to 5 steps behind you. And that's who you are, right? You've been in fitness, you have all of these skill sets. Why are you trying to help people in these other arenas that you have no idea about? And so that's how I kind of got the clarity to go into business coaching. Then I just started working with business coaches on how to define what that should look like and what are the steps I needed to take and what are the strategies I needed to learn. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how I kind of shifted very quickly.
No, definitely. I think it's funny, but I think a lot of, especially males and other coaches out there, sometimes don't realize that don't realize the importance of coaches need coaches on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and once you start coaching with a coach, you really never stop. You know, and it's just one of those things for me. It's like, you know, I've worked with 2 to 3 different coaches, and it's just like I always have a coach every year now.
100%.
You know, and I'll never stop not having one because I just see the value and the return on investment that I get from it. And I'm not talking just financially, but just as a person, you know, and as your character and what you deliver to your clients, it just becomes greater and greater every single time. So that's one of the things me and Josh talk about all the time too, with anybody, with young coaches, is like, find yourself a mentor, a coach to be coached by. And don't, especially as a male, don't feel like, oh, that makes you a pussy or that makes you like somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. No, not at all. Like, if anything, that's what you want more of. If you can find another 2 coaches, find 2 coaches and work with 2 coaches, you know. But I think it's more about, as a young coach, accepting that that's okay, and then letting yourself be guided. Because most of the times in the male, in that whole stereotypical male, it's like, you know, we can't have emotion, we can't, you know, we can't suck at something, and if we suck, we can't show it. And it's like, you know, you see that coming from our parents and our grandparents, and it's just like it kind of gets instilled. And now you're starting to see a breakthrough where things are starting to change. It's like, no, that's okay. Like, if you're stuck, you're stuck. If you're having some emotions because of this, like, that's okay. Take that out and then let's work on that. Why? You know, so I think that it's just one of the most important things now, especially in the health and fitness industry, is allowing yourself to be coached in the first place.
Yeah, you know, it's the ego, right? The young man's curse, they call it. And I remember I had someone tell me that. I was 26 running, I'm not going to say their name, but it was a large corporate fitness gym in New York City. And I had about 45 trainers underneath me. I was only about a year and a half into the industry, and I was already running this gym. And so I had this coach, you know, I had this trainer, he's been in this industry for 10 years. He's in his 40s. And I'm trying to tell him how to do his job. And he just looked at, and he was trying to give me some guidance. He was trying to like give me some pointers. And I said something, I don't remember exactly what it was. And he was like, oh, he's like, you got the young man's curse, don't you? And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. He's such a great guy. But it was so hard to learn back then, you know, and just flipping back to that question before, how it all came full circle for me was I was having a conversation with a coach that used to work for me. And this was right after I got the clarity, right after I started to do a little bit of market research. And I was just having a normal conversation. Wasn't even, it was just, we were just catching up. And he was literally almost in tears. And he was like, he was struggling so bad. And he's like, I'm thinking about getting out. I can't do this anymore. The gym that he was working at was taking advantage of him. He was working like 30 plus hours. His check was just terrible. And very similar situation to me, but just obviously like, 15 years younger. And so that conversation, man, just was like the nail in the heart to like, I need to help this guy. I need to help this person. And so that's where it all came to like complete clarity for me. And it was like this aha moment, so to speak.
And how would you say, since you started business coaching, like what have been some of the, some of the feedback that you've been getting from people? What are some of the real problem areas that you see within, coaches in the fitness industry? And what are some of the ways that you help them kind of work through those issues?
Great question. So right away, I feel coaches today are at a huge disadvantage. You guys started in corporate fitness. I started in corporate fitness. Sales and being able to present yourself is literally the first thing you learn, right? And so when these instructors, these trainers, these coaches come into the industry, no one's really teaching that anymore. That's right. And so when you talk to them, they right away feel they have to do all the social media stuff, right? And they have to get this presence on social media. They don't even know how to sell their services. They don't even know how to put their programs together. They don't even know what problems they're truly solving, right? So it's the basics, right? The basics of just being able to understand that this is also a business, right? And so a lot of the issues that they're having is the imposter syndrome. So they see you guys, for instance, right? And they see your media is just exploded and your pictures are amazing. And they're like, I don't know where to even begin. I don't even know how to write a caption, let alone put a great image up. I have 500 followers. And it's being able to say, hey man, that's not even important right now, or spending thousands of dollars on certifications when they're only going to use 30% of the knowledge that they obtain anyways, because we all know you end up just teaching the basics 9 out of 10 times to most people anyways. So I believe it's just direction. There's no entities anymore that are just giving guidance and directions on, hey, this is when you're starting, this is some of the things you should learn first, then maybe add on some of this, then add on some of that. So if you want to say the bigger answer to that is direction and guidance. I don't feel it's there as much as it used to be.
And with that being said, especially during times like this where COVID really brought the best out of like the industry in the sense of awareness and really like pushing it to its limits, because it's like we talk about, the industry was going to head even further 3 to 5 years from now into the online space regardless.
Totally.
And COVID just pushed it. It streamlined that. It just really said, hey, 5 years, you're here now.
Push that button. Yeah.
Everybody was like, oh shit. So it's so, I agree with you saying. A lot of people at first, these coaches, because I remember they were hitting me up, some of the guys that were, old coaches we used to work with. They're like, Anthony, what do I do now? Okay, I need to blow up my social media. I need to blow it up right now. Like, dude, you don't understand. I'm like, bro.
7 years.
I was like, let's go. First of all, let's just sit down. Let's take what you do know already, what you're doing good at, and then also too, let's see the foundational things you need to start working on to build this out. Just learn even about like how the online space works, how the social media space works, before we even dive into like, hey, content, all this other stuff, and just understanding who are you going to serve and how are you going to help people online, you know? So it's so funny because that's the first instant reaction is like, oh my God, I didn't set myself up now. Like all these huge accounts are going to blow up and it's too saturated and I can't, like I'm stuck, like, oh shit, like I need to start going nuts. And it's just like, that's where you see a lot of the mistakes start to happening. And then when it doesn't work for them, they get discouraged and then they get out. And it's just like, I love that you brought that up because the foundational pieces are the most important pieces, especially at the beginning.
Well,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. So the saturation piece, and I remember having this conversation probably like 15 times, and it's like, but it's so saturated. And I was like, your view is fitness. What you see is fitness. All the accounts you follow is fitness. So all you see is fitness. So of course it's going to feel saturated.
Yep.
Your ideal customer, when you figure who that person out, they're not seeing what you see. They don't see all of these 1,000 coaches and trainers out there running online. They follow you. And if you don't do something, well, guess what? They're eventually going to follow someone else. So yes,
Very
but
true.
they don't see what you see. So to your customer, it's not saturated.
Same thing goes with politics. That's all you're following, depending. That's
Yeah,
what you're gonna
those
get.
echo
That's what you're
chambers,
gonna
right?
fully believe.
Well, and
Yep.
I think
So
too,
true.
I think people focus so much on the social media stuff because it's the most surface level thing you can see, right? It's super tangible. Like I can look at your 270,000 followers and be like, okay, he's legit. Whereas I look at someone with 500 followers and I can easily just put them in a box and say, okay, well, they don't have the audience, like that, they're not for me. But all of that surface level stuff really is what becomes the most unmotivating factor in your life, right? So digging deeper into like, okay, well, as Anthony was saying, like, what am I good at? What are my strengths? Double or triple down on those, and then like slowly work at the things that you're not good at. People are just focused on, oh, well, I don't have this and this person has that, so they must have it easier. And there's no way I can do this.
And that's the thing. And even us, like ourselves, I catch myself still doing that sometimes. But like even then, you're like looking at like everything you're not good at, and just like, I can't do this. And it's just like, okay, but what are you good at? Like write it out. Okay, I'm good at this and this and this and this. And right there, you have enough to start with. Like you have more than enough to start with and apply with, and right there, you're going to just feel much better about moving into a better direction. And then understanding, okay, like if this is, I'm good at this, and this is, now I know that these are my weaknesses. Well, then how can I now, either get the help I need in my weaknesses, or how can I start learning about some of these things to aid at my weaknesses at the beginning? But I think it's just taking a step back before we go nutso, into anything. It's just not just fitness coaching. It's just anything in life, like
100%.
Take a step back and just like, don't go crazy because you're just looking at the negative. Like, let's look at the positive things. It's the same thing when you go throughout your day. Look, even today, I won't go into it crazy, but today I had a pretty weird day. But I think we sit back and it's like, I got my health, I got my job, I got my buddy, I got my family still, I got the things I need in place. But I had this one blip, and at the moment, that one blip was over-consuming. You can even ask Job. It was over-consuming me. And
I had to walk him off the ledge.
Yeah, and then I realized, I'm just like, hold up, like, okay, this is solvable.
Now everybody wants to know, by the way. Everybody wants to know.
Pretty deep stuff. So I had some issues with my bank. So
I hacked the shit out of his account and bought a bunch of Bitcoin.
Yep, I got three of my accounts frozen.
Josh, I'll send you my Venmo.
Yeah.
So that was and it was just it happened this morning, and then they wouldn't tell me what it was. They couldn't tell me what it was. Apparently, went from like calling to branch to branch, and then finally was able to pull that out, and at least I'm good to go. So at least I have what I need and can move it over. But I was freaking out at the moment because I was just like, they don't even want to let go of they don't want to let me pull out what I have in here. And they're like, oh, it might take this long. We don't know. We can't give you the information. They're doing I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, come on.
But you did exactly what, I would recommend anyone to do. It's like, okay, if a problem or something is weighing on you so heavily that it's like really taking you away from being able to do your day, then just go try to solve that. Sure. Just go try to solve that problem the best that you can. Like in the moment, don't wait on it. You did the right thing. You went and, took care of business, told me what you had to do, and then you left. Yeah. But too often people let that shit weigh on them, and it doesn't always have to be something tangible like, your bank account or whatever's going on, but like even mentally, right? Like if I don't close a sale, I don't want that sale to drag on through the rest of my day because I have other calls to make. Right. I have other people that I have to try to serve.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you told someone, right? Mm-hmm. You actually verbally told someone 10 years ago, you probably would have just completely internalized it and you probably would have still been pissed off 2 days from now. Sure. Right. And so what we were talking about earlier is men, right? I'm going to figure it out and just be pissed off. But the fact that you just was like, I'm going to tell my buddy, and that probably helped you feel so much better.
I was like, Josh, real, what do you think, man?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this? How should I approach this?
Glad it's not me. That's what that was my response.
Yeah. Well,
What do
he's
you
got a
think?
level
I'm
head,
glad I'm
right?
not
He's like,
you.
oh,
That's what I
He's
think.
like, do you want to borrow my account? You could
yeah.
just put it in here for 10
Yeah, it's like
You
if
want
you
to
need
buy
a
you
place,
coffee?
if you need a place
to buy you coffee?
if you need a place to store the money, I know a great place. I know a great place.
Awesome.
Oh man, too funny. But it's just you go back and you realize at the end of the day, like everything is solvable if you really just pay attention to it and you catch it and you don't let it overconsume you. You know, I think it's the overconsumption of letting your thoughts, play games with you that really just throws you off the curveball. Diving back into the business coaching.
Yeah.
I would love to go about, and obviously I don't want to take away from your program and stuff you're doing, but I would love to understand, at least in the surface level, what are some of the main steps that you like to take, those highlight key pointers in your program that really define the true results that these coaches will get working with you?
Oh, that's a great question. So we start with the entrepreneur, right? We start with the foundation of who that person is, because your business comes with you. And so what tends to happen is what we talked about earlier, right? If you got all of this stuff and you think that your business is going to solve all of your problems, you're mistaken, because all you're doing is adding more problems. So we start with the entrepreneur. We start with what are the distractions? What are the limitations? What are the things that is just not your job, that you're just over consumed with? And so we start identifying that stuff. We start adding on good practices, good behaviors. And then from there, we immediately go into the next step, which is the customer, figuring out who is your ideal customer. And I believe COVID kind of switched things a little bit. And Josh, you can see if you felt the same way. But before, when we were talking about a niche, it was almost like you had to work with like 30-year-old moms who drink lattes. And it was like, they wanted you to get so specific, right? And so I remember like working with coaches, and I remember being in a coaching program where other people were trying to experience this. People were just banging their heads on the wall. But what I realized with COVID, that it's not so much the individual, but the problems that those individuals have. That is what we're seeing now is, don't worry about the individual so much. Worry about the problems that are out there, right? And so that's what we focus on. We focus on the problems that are out there that they want to be able to solve. Then what are the solutions to that? So gaining complete clarity around what that looks like for them. Then from there, we move on to the next piece, which is learning how to generate leads, learning how to market now what they have. And that's also where they start to create a little bit of proof of concept. Because something that I always hold coaches back from is just worrying about their program, because they'll spend months. What's the program? Let me add True Coach. Let me add videos. They'll spend months on it with no proof of concept. And so we go immediately into marketing and selling a program that they've started to gain clarity around. And then we just tie it all together with, how to use their social media, how to get their messaging across, what platforms they're going to use, and just gaining more confidence with being able to put themselves out there. And then we tie it all together with sales.
Yeah, I know. I think you hit it right on the head, about the whole target audience thing. And to be completely honest, I think it does have to be more problem oriented. One, right? Because kids now, like people that are younger than us are actually, a decent amount of them are making good money now. Like they can afford to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
Not only that, I believe more people are investing in themselves than just like saving their money. They're like, okay, well, me being healthy eventually will make me more money, so I can put money into it, or I can put money into a coaching service or this, because I think people are starting to really understand the benefit of self-development, right? Personal development, which I think opens up people's wallets a little more than maybe 15 years ago, when people were a lot more conservative, at least like with what they were spending their money on. They might have been spending a ton of money, but I think like the categories probably would have been a lot smaller than now.
Yeah.
And on top of it, I think too, like, and Anthony has talk to me about this a lot is I'm one of those people. I'm like, everything has to be perfect. I have to have my website with the questionnaire, and then the questionnaire has to be linked to my Calendly. And then, once it's all done, and, he's just, fuck that, man. Fuck that.
Get it out, man.
Just sell. He's like, you got five days to write your program. I better see something done in 5 days. Other than that, you better be fucking
I have this
better
whole
be
thing,
pushing it.
I'm like, sell it before you create it.
Yes, absolutely.
But also that helps you find out what the real problems are, right? Like if you, a big problem when I started my online business was, I created a like foundational steel mace education course, basically like A to Z how-to course on steel. I was like, everyone's going to love it. People are, I'm going to sell 1,000, copies of it. It's going to do so well. I'm going to be rich. It's going to be amazing. First month, nothing. Second month, 1. Third month, 1. I was like, well, what happened? And I started realizing, like, well, do people really even care to know about how to properly use the steel mace, or do they just want to look cool on Instagram with it? And the more I started to realize, I was like, okay, I might have been 5 years ahead of my time coming up with like this online steel mace course, because people just want to like flow and mess around with it. They're not ready to take that step. So I spent 4 months, coming up with the content, building out the content, creating it for nothing, not for nothing.
Yeah.
People value it now, but at the
beginning,
beginning,
5 years, 5 years
I got 3 more. I'm 2 down, 3 more to go, but it's super important that you actually do find out what the problems are so that you can actually create a product that is the solution to that problem, right? Instead of just coming up with a solution before you actually understand what the problem is.
Yeah. The market tells you, right? I made a mistake of like, I thought my program was just going to be mindset. I remember I'm just going to do mindset for coaches. And the market told me, no, we don't want mindset. I need help generating leads. I need help closing my sales. I don't know how to run my business. I don't know what are the operation points behind it. And I was like, oh, okay. But I wouldn't have known that had I wasted 3 months putting some program together, had this great mindset program, then no one wants it. So you literally have to listen to the market and allow them to tell you what should the steel mace program look like. And so that's where we have to, again, put our egos aside and just listen and allow our customers to kind of tell us what it is that they truly want. That's going to help people. My program shifted a lot because I just continue to listen to the market, continuously listen to what coaches need and value. Now there's a financial component to it. There was no financial component in the beginning. Understanding your overhead, understanding how to budget, understanding how to shop for an accountant. I had none of that. I didn't even think of it until coaches started coming to me with these financial issues. And I was like, okay, well, this is a need. And that had to get thrown in there.
What are some of those tools or techniques that you use or that you, give to your coaches that you work with in order to help them find out what the market actually wants?
So it's a lot of awareness, right? And it's a lot of awareness, and it's asking questions. And so we use, whether it's Instagram, where you're using polls and questions, and I kind of have them do this weekly, where it's like, hey, I want you to ask 2 fun questions to engage with the audience, then ask 1 good meaty business question, right? So Instagram, that's a great place to ask. A lot of times it's their own customers, constantly. So I do a weekly review with my coaches where they have to fill out 10 questions. What I make them do is, and what I suggest that they do, is they do the same with their customers. And so they're able to consistently get information back that doesn't only just do with training, but it also deals with how the customer feels about their entire journey with them. So it's constantly gaining information. And then, every quarter I tell them to do market research. Every quarter, find 10 people to just talk to that fit, who you think fit under your niche, and just ask them some good quality questions so that you're consistently updating your information.
Yep. No, 100%. It's definitely spot on. And like you said, market research and seeing also too some of the other coaches who might be very close to you and your style and stuff like that, seeing, what they're doing, seeing how they're doing it. And it's, and taking away the comparing aspect. It's just more about like, what are the new updates they're updating their stuff with, or are they using new technology? Are they using new systems? Is there a new trend going on where they're speaking differently to certain people? And now understanding how you can learn that and, like you said, market research and figure out some new stuff. I wanted to dive into, I know you kept mentioning sales, and this is one of the big ones that you see a lot. And I truly believe that accountability and sales are always two of the biggest factors that you see most of these coaches missing, that really like hold them back as far as the growth of the financial aspect of their business. And when it comes to sales, I wanted to see your thought and kind of what kind of, obviously we don't have to go in too crazy detail, but at least again, what are the main things that you tell them to look for when it comes into sales? And meaning more like, what does the process look like when you're already creating that relationship with that person? And then whether it's like, depending on how you do it, if you direct them somewhere, or if you're actually getting on a call with them, what are the main pointers that you ask these coaches to look for or to apply in their sales techniques?
So number one is do they have a scarcity or abundance mindset? That's the number one thing. And you see it happen all the time in fitness, especially with guys like us that came from corporate fitness that had sales rammed down our throats. I remember leaving my job and I was like, I don't even want to fucking sell anything. Like, I just want to, I literally just want to give everyone fitness. I love the industry. I'm not doing this for money. And you hear that a lot. So it's number one, sitting down with them and saying, listen, we need to change your mindset. Never say, I don't do this for the money, right?
Yep.
Because
of course you do.
When people pay, the more people pay, the more they pay attention, a la Tony Robbins, right? So there's no transformation without the transaction. So number one is we just start to get that abundance mindset going. Then I always make sure, or I suggest that they get on a Zoom call or some sort of phone call with people. Make sure that they're going back to the way we used to do things back in the day.
Yep.
Create that relationship. If you're not doing that and you're just trying to have this transaction or make it easy, so to speak, and I think that happened over the last 5-6 years, was like, I'm going to put my prices on a website. I'm just going to put it out there and I don't care. I don't want to have anything to do with it. So it's getting the coach back into that seat and saying, no, you need to create the relationship. You need to talk to these people. And then the strategy behind that is obviously 80-20, 80% asking questions, 80% getting to know the person, and then 20% of the time just really making sure that you're recapping all the things you heard so that the person's like, whoa, they're paying attention to me. He's interested. He's curious. He hears me. He's validating who I am and my issues and my concerns, or she is validating it. And then being able to confidently present your program and the investment.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Love it, man. And I want to go even deeper into that.
Let's do it. I love sales. I can do it all day.
This is the best.
You and him. I'll sit here in the corner.
I love it.
So diving into deeper into the sales aspect, I think one of the biggest things also as well that we see often with coaches, and or even myself as a young coach, was you get this whole like, let's say you get motivated and they're like, no, you got to go in there, believe that you're going to go the sale crush. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. And I think this whole thing that you get so amped up. And then when you go in there and you don't get it, you're like, fuck, I didn't get it. And then again, I didn't get it. So one of the things I talked to my coach and I was like, be confident, but expect objections.
Yes.
Be confident, but expect objections. Become the master of objections.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I tell people all the time is with my coaches, you got to learn how to coach people in every aspect throughout the call. You have to be a
100%.
coach from the beginning. And I think that's what happens a lot of times is they go into like that, okay, got to sell mode. And it's like, remember, coach mode, not sell mode. You're not selling them. You're coaching
100%.
them. So I wanted to dive into a little bit more about like some of the ways that maybe you teach your coaches how to handle objections. And I think we can both agree, like the three biggest ones you see is time, money, relationship.
Yeah.
And what are your key indicators or your key best pointers to go around and handle those type of objections, especially as a coach?
So that's great that you said that, because some people think they need to change the hat. It's like, okay, when I'm doing a sale, I have to put on the salesperson, right? So they start to feel completely inauthentic. But it's no, stay in your coach mode. When you hear no, the sale just begins, right? That's when the sale begins. What you're hearing is not no to you. Ultimately, what you're probably hearing is two things haven't happened. You either haven't built up enough trust, or the person doesn't believe they can be successful. So now you've got to start coaching. And this is where you go deeper. So you hear an objection. Number one thing you should right away do is, okay, Josh, can I ask you a question? Is that okay if I ask you a question?
We're gonna role play right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Woo!
Go for it. Yeah, of course.
If it wasn't for the money, does this sound like something you would be interested in?
Oh, absolutely. But money is a big issue.
Great. So now you just isolated the objection. And that's the key number one thing that happens. So the moment you get an objection, you need to isolate it. You need to figure out what it is that they're objecting to. And so right away, you just shake them out of their pattern, ask them a question. Hey, Josh, can I ask you a question? Or Josh, I completely understand. Totally have to, I know how it is to run it by your wife, but can I ask you a question? If your wife was supportive of this, would this be something that you would be interested in? So once you have that isolation, then you know what you're working with. Start back at the beginning. Go right back to the beginning, start going through all the questions that you asked them, right? Start repeating some of their words. When you repeat people's words, 9 out of 10 times, they were nervous when they're speaking to you. They put you on a pedestal. You are a celebrity in their mind. You're 5 steps ahead of them. So they're nervous. So now when you repeat some of these things back to them, they're like, oh my God, I said that? Fuck, wow. And it also shows you were interested, you were paying attention. And again, like I said earlier, you're validating them. You're validating their concerns. The world invalidates us all. It says, man up, muscle up, right? Like get over it. You're saying it's okay to feel this way. So now once you start to bring this back, if you're starting to rebuild that trust again. So now is it they don't believe that they can be successful? You're coaching now. So now it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to help them understand. Now it's time to overcome those obstacles. And so once you start to do that, you gain that trust and they start to feel a little bit easier. So again, number one thing, overcoming objections, isolate it. Second thing, start back at the beginning. And third, start to build that trust with slowly taking them back through the process of being able to believe that they can be successful.
Amen to that, man. And to really, I guess to wrap things up with us with the objections, what would you say is the best way for coaches now to handle the whole COVID objection?
Well, what kind of objection would that be? Would that be not in person? Would that be like?
I would say more for like COVID, with the whole COVID going on. It's just not a good place for me to do this.
Okay. So be respectful. Yeah, be respectful. Understand some people are just truly, truly afraid, but understand that they probably reached out to you, right? So if they reached out to you, they want something, right? So again, just identify what that is. Be curious. So something that I teach and I preach a lot is don't sell, just be curious. Like go into it super interested, human to human. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know what's going on. I want to get to know, why did you reach out to me, right? Why did you like my post? What was about that resonated? And be honest, because if you're honest with them, they're going to be honest with you. So be empathetic, be patient, be honest, but try to go deeper, because obviously they want something. So we got to figure out what that something is.
Like, yeah, no. And it's one thing I say all the time with the coaches is like, provide the solution, don't sell the program.
Yes, 100%. But that's where people get caught up, right? People get caught up. So to that point, and this goes into like lead generation and marketing, when we're presenting the offer, right? When it comes down to presenting the program, does this sound good? Josh, do you want to go to Greece and chill out on the beach?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Josh, I got 2 tickets to Greece. What I want you to do is I want you to spend an hour packing your bags. Then I want you to call the taxi or an Uber, get in the Uber for 45 minutes, meet me at the airport, stand at the customs line for 2 hours. We'll wait at the airport. Then we'll get on a flight for 7 hours. And then finally, after getting our bags, we can get back to the hotel and we'll finally be in Greece. How's that sound to you?
Terrible.
This sounds fucking horrible.
Yeah,
That sounds terrible, but that's what we do, right? We're like, oh, we're going to give you 3 workouts plus a Zoom call. And we talk about the work. So what we want to do is focus on the island, the benefits, right? We don't want to talk about the flight. We want to talk about the actual island, right? Me and Josh sitting on the beach, drinking a cocktail. The sun is shining. Oh, life is beautiful. We're meditating that day. Absolutely. That's what you want to present.
Man, I think, wow, an absolutely incredible time I think we've had here, man. Tons
I can
of
do this all day.
Yeah,
Let's go.
So can we. We'll definitely do it again soon. But I think that, this was an amazing point to wrap everything up. James, you and I have had a ton of conversations in the past, and you've been a great friend. I can definitely call you that. A great resource for someone to, anytime I have any questions and this guy isn't around. I want to say thank you for coming on here, man. It's been a pleasure having you on here, talking about your process, figuring out, really what are some of the issues that coaches are having in the fitness industry today, and what are some of the solutions that they can use right away to kind of solve or at least dampen those problems that they're having. Before, I know Anthony's going to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions like he always does. Where can people reach out to you? How can they find you online? What's the best place for that?
Awesome. So you can find me on Instagram, James P. Quigley. You can also find me, my website is thejamesquigley.com. So those are 2 great places that you can reach me. If you do message me, for anybody that wants to message me, I will send them a nice free gift. So all you got to do is shoot me a DM with the word gift, and I'll send them I'll send you a nice free little gift for you to help you in your business.
Awesome.
All right, brother. Time to hit you with some of these.
I like it. Let's go.
Rapid questions. All right.
Go.
First one. Social media platforms. Keep, delete. If you had to pick.
This is a new version of Mary Fuck Kill.
I like that. Okay. Keep or delete.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, or TikTok.
Oh man, that's a good one. Okay. So Facebook, delete. YouTube, keep. TikTok, delete. Instagram, keep. What's the other one?
Said LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. That's the future, man. Keep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Next question. What is one tool that you're looking to add onto what you're currently doing with your coaching business?
Ooh, that's a good question. One tool. I'm going to be bringing on a virtual assistant that can help the coaches with the graphic design and all the stuff that they're, with all the stuff that they're not good at. So I'll be having virtual assistants that are available for them so that they can grab for either it's graphic design, helping them maybe with their editing for their podcast or anything that they need. So just that link, because most coaches don't even know what virtual assistants are. Shout out to you if you do. I'm not saying that you don't, but I'm just saying, so that's something that I'm looking to provide in 2021.
Awesome. Next question. What don't you want to see happen in the fitness industry after COVID?
Love that. I don't want to see gyms close. Shout out to all the gym owners that are just fighting, fighting for it right now. I don't want to see gyms close. I want to see people going back into the gyms. I love the online space. I love online coaching, but there's nothing like being able to be in a community around people too.
Amen.
It's just an added tool for the businesses. So I don't want to see gyms close.
Love it. Next question. What's the craziest experience you ever experienced as a coach? It doesn't have to be online. It could be online, in person, whatever it is. Craziest experience.
Crazy experience. God, there's so many. Okay. So quick story. Training my customer. we're doing a warm up on a treadmill, and literally 3 treadmills down, somebody lost their bowels, literally on the treadmill.
Oh,
And
coming back. Oh.
yeah, literally lost their bowels, hit the treadmill, bam, hit the wall right behind them.
with all the
With the express line right there. So this is obviously, there's a gym in New York City. I'm not saying their name, but there was an express line where people had exercise. So that bowels just went right behind it.
Nuts.
Shittiest thing I've ever seen.
Shit. Last question.
Let's do it.
In one sentence, what's the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to all our listeners today?
Oh, love that. That's a great question. Put your ego aside. Ask for help. Be patient. Go easy on yourself. Keep learning. Play the long game.
You guys heard it from the man himself.
Bam. James, one last time, thank you again for coming on. Make sure you guys all check him out. Until next time, guys.